You know, young kids will often ask, how did a previous generation survive without video games? You know, years ago there were no such things as video games, and a lot of kids who are playing, you know, PlayStation 3 and stuff like that can't imagine there being a time without it. But there is good news for you, is that the concept has always existed. Okay? There was a time when board games ruled, and this is the game of life right here. Obviously there are other components to it. Here's an offbeat version of Yahtzee, the Mickey Mouse version. Okay, there's a Parcheesi board. And there's Trivial Pursuit, which was Game of the Year. Now, Scrabble was a popular game, and board games were much too large. That's why video games took over. Actually, these board games were just as much fun, but the reason why video games took over was because look at how large this is right here. See, that's just, see my hand against it. So they were very cumbersome, and when I think about the demise of video games, my favorite example would be Flying Finnegan. It's an obscure game, but if you look at it, it looks like something out of the Looney Tunes. You would have to set up this big contraption here. I mean, it would probably take hours. I mean, it took me a long time. And then when you clicked it, and the thing would do all these different things, and it would end up hopefully in that thing, and it worked. And it was a lot of fun. You could have fun for hours. But look at all the components. You know, it's just very hard to operate. The same thing was true with good old checkers, you know. So that's why video games are more popular, not necessarily because they're more fun. So I'll just show you a couple examples of board games. Obviously there's checkers. It's a little known fact to a lot of people, but if you were in the stores years ago, there were, you know, dozens and dozens, if not 100 board games to choose from. So, you know, there were, you know, games that we'd never heard of that were only popular for maybe a year or two. In fact, there were a lot of gimmick games, such as, here's one, The Muppet Show. If you can read that, it says a Parker Brothers game. When Happy Days was popular, they had a board game. Welcome Back, Kotter. I Love Lucy, not I Love Lucy, but Lucille Ball had her own board game. I think it was entitled Deception. So this is a very interesting part of gaming history. And some of these games were so popular that here's Clue, and then about 30 years later, the same game got a facelift. And you can see how Clue looks a lot different. So it just goes to show you the power of these board games. Now here's an example of a large board